Welcome everybody. This is the Thursday evening Viper Trading webinar. If you're here to learn about trading futures markets using the Viper tools, you are absolutamente in the correct place. First, we got to get our standard disclaimer out of the way so we can get on to some charts and start looking at trades. Let's see here. Where are we at here? Okay, we got the disclaimer up. Tonight's topic is looking for minimum criteria trades. We'll actually cover lots of different types of trades, but we'll focus in on the minimum criteria. I don't think we've done a webinar on that before, so it's a pretty good idea to kick that in. All communications from Viper Trading Systems are for educational purposes only. Futures trading does involve risk, and there is a risk of loss. Nothing contained in this webinar or other webinars, including the live trading room, are to be construed as investment or trading advice. And of course, everybody here tonight does know that you do trade at your own sole discretion. Okay, without further ado, let's get on to some charts. And I would like to kick the session off with, let's see here, ES chart. So double checking audio and video. ES chart, 4-range chart, cursor moving in the middle, everything coming through, audio visual good. Chart is up. You should see a little arrow moving around in a circle. Yep, looking good. We're rocking and rolling. Sweet. Moving arrow. All right. So we had a really good turnout tonight, and I think a lot of you are visiting on our little open house thing, which is cool. Some of you are new. Some of you just signed up for free trials, I think, today or yesterday or whatever, and that's totally cool, too. Welcome, welcome to you, if I'm describing you. And let me explain what you're looking at very quickly so we can get on to the trade setups. So we are connected to a futures data feed with our broker, Ninja. This is NinjaTrader platform number 7. We have our indicators on Ninja 8, but I'm running 7 right now. The indicators are as follows. We have background colors, red, intermediate, and green. Bar colors, blue, yellow, and red. We have the power meters, which are the 4 trends on the chart at any given point in time. We have the predictors, which are the swings, little sort of bubbly looking things. And then we have the alerts. And the alerts work when you're in an uptrend, you toggle the long alerts on. And I'll do this later. In fact, we'll do this to confirm some of our trade setups so you can see them, how that works. And then, of course, the most prominent thing on here is the bands. And so we have a total of 8 bands. And the thick line in the middle is called the mid band or the middle band. Mid band, right here. See it? And so the other 2 things that feature prominently in our trading are, let's see here. I'm trying to see if we can see that. Trying to make sure my arrow is moving correctly here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, arrow's moving correctly. So on the 4 bands below the thick middle band here is 1 and 2. This thin red line on the top of band 2 is called line 2. This little thin red line that goes like that. And then the thin green line on the top of band 6 is called line 6. And these 3 bands feature very prominently in our trading decisions. Okay. Now, what's nice about this chart here is that I can illustrate on this ES chart before we get into actual looking for trades together as a team, which we'll do a lot of. And let's see, arrow is lagging. Okay, let's do this. Let me do this. I think what's happening is I have a mouse. All right, let's see if this fixes the lag. This is the laptop mouse arrow, and this is the PC. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to use the arrow on the laptop. How about that? Is that better? See it going around in a circle? That's better? Yeah, I think that I'm gonna have to use this one. That's okay, no problem. All right, so when a market is in a downtrend, we have the red background that you see right here, and the elements of a downtrend are as follows. The first thing that turns the background red is called the thrust. In this case here, that happened about, as I recall, it was right around 7 a.m., between 7 and 7:05 a.m. Pacific. I'm here in California, so this is all California time down here. And if you're trying to get a perspective on things, at 6:30 is when the equity markets open in the U.S. here, and so that is located approximately right here, somewhere right in here. It was 6:30. Gary opens the live trading room at 5:55, so that would have been over here. So you could have been in the live room looking at charts right where that vertical line is. And we have 4 charts in there. Most of you know, of course, if you've been in the live room, we trade ES or YM in the upper right-hand corner. The other markets that we like to trade and we'll look at tonight are the Russell futures, RTY. We trade gold, $10 a tick. Just rolled to December contract. And of course, my business partner Gary very heavily trades crude oil, which we rolled to October, I think, last week. And those were both $10 per tick of movement. Gold, GC futures, and CL, crude futures. Okay? All right, so a couple of things happened here. Let's talk about them on the chart. And I think it's a good illustration of how to use a combination of the indicators and the bands. Let's go back and look at the open today when Gary opened the room and the equity markets opened at 6:30, which is right about in here. Now, the different types of trades that we have, I'm going to define long trades and short trades, because the location of where you take these trades is similar, but only opposite. So it's like a mirror image. So let's talk about the long side first. The one trade that we like to teach that if you're looking to trade and learn how to trade, the first one that we suggest learning is what's called the mid-band trade. So if you look to the left here, this is a case where coming into the open, you can very clearly see that ES was in an uptrend. We had the thrust, which turned the background green. The mid-band and all the bands were stair-stepping up. The bars are predominantly blue, and we were said to be in an uptrend. So let me blow this up so you can see really what's going on here. Now we have to be careful, and if you've learned this yourself by the way of hard knocks, you really never want to buy what's called the thrusting part of the move. Thrusting is the push in the trend direction. So we patiently wait for a pullback or retracement into support. Now a mid-band trade entry would be located as such. In the band directly above the mid-band, the band directly below the mid-band, and actually right on the mid-band itself. These are called mid-band trades, okay? So let me ask a question now that you know that. What type of trade set up at the open on ES right here? What type of trade is that? That's set up right at the open on ES. What will we call this? I know some of you are new, so if you're just seeing this for the first time, don't worry about it. It takes a little while to learn it. Sometimes when you look at these charts and see all the colors and everything, it's a little bit daunting to you. It's just like, what's all this stuff going on here? I understand. We get that all the time. This is a mid-band long trade. That's correct. A mid-band long trade because of its location, sitting right on the middle mid-band right here in the band above it, and the fact that the trend is up. So you're looking for longs here to come out of the box. Although you could have, and I want to put a caveat in here, there are times on certain instruments around the open or crude inventory or Fed minutes, news events, where you can actually box something and let it go either way, because you might get a trend change and you want to catch those. In fact, that happened on ES this morning. Now, I'm not going to get into the mechanics. You're going to basically draw what's called a region box here using the Object Trader tool, and you're filled on the close of the bar outside the box right here, and then you trail your stop up. We normally suggest at least 2 lot. You get your scalp off at 4, 5, 6 ticks on ES, and then you have a trail for a runner at a minimum 2, And then you can see it broke through the stealth line, this little sort of sneaky snake green line here, and line 6 for the stop out here. So this trade really, it didn't give you a whole lot. You might have got 16 ticks out of it. No, a question coming in from the group here tonight, Robert, saying, do the yellow bars mean caution? No, that is a common misconception about the bar coloration. All the yellow indications is telling you is that you are sitting around the midband. If you notice, a lot of times when you get retracements near the midband, the bars will turn yellow. Let me show some examples. Here's an example right here. Here's an example right here. Another example right here. And of course, you can see an example right here. Right here. Yeah, I mean, so depending on your fill, I mean, could you put a market order in here as it was sitting here? Of course you could. You could have bought, you put a limit order at the top of the swing right here and gone in, filled on a limit order. The advantage of using the Object Trader tool is that it's semi-automated strategy, so it will automatically place targets and stops and manage the trails for you. So you don't have to do that. If you put the market and limit order in to enter, then you're going to have to put your own targets and stops and initial stops and all that sort of stuff, which isn't, it's not unheard of, but it's a little more work for you, and when you have a tool that does it, it's really advantageous to learn it. Now, I'm not going to get tied up in this right here for the purpose of explanation. I'm going to look at some other trades that are going to make more sense. Yeah, the bars turn yellow a lot of times, Robert, when they sort of hover around the midband. It doesn't, to be very frank and honest with you, the bar colors make very little direct how would you say, correlation to the trades that we take, mainly because we are what you call price action traders. So we're looking at swing levels. Where support and resistance are. Normally you would have some lines on here where support and resistance. That's not the purpose of the webinar tonight, so I'm not going to do that. But needless to say, the bar coloration actually technically visually, it helps you when you're in a long, protracted trend move, like the short here. Here you can see very prominently that the bars stay red the whole time. It's not that risky to trade the open on ES. It is on other instruments, David. What I mean by that is that each of these instruments trades a little bit differently. It's kind of like, how would you say, different types of people, right? You have people that that are very calm. You maybe move a little slower. Excuse me. That would be ES. Okay, ES would be like your kind of slow friend. That's probably the best way to put it. All right, and then as you ratchet up the scale, the next one would be Russell, is a little faster, moves a little faster. YM moves sometimes even faster than that, or as fast as Russell. And by far, the equity instrument that moves the fastest is NQ. So what you have to do is, as you're learning this, you have to pick an instrument and learn its personality, and then sort of sync your trading personality up with it. For instance, I know a lot of traders that love NASDAQ. They love the volatility. They realize that they're going to get whacked a couple of times before they catch a big run, and they're okay with that, right? Some people like YM. A lot of people trade Russell. We call Russell trades all morning long in the room. I prefer ES. ES can be a little slow sometimes, and sometimes it's choppy and range bound, but you got to find a personality of an instrument that's going to speak to you. Now, here's some more examples of mid-band trades right here on the short side. Here's one right here. There's 3 of them, and we were calling these out live in the room as they occurred. Right here. These are all mid-band trades, short mid-band trades. We call that a kiss and roll. So you have a thrust down to a support level. We get short covering, which pushes the market back up. We kiss and roll near the mid-band. We take another short. You scalp it down to support. It happens again. Rinse and repeat 3 times. This is like a quadruple bottom down here. So market's trying to find a bottom. ES is trying to find a bottom down here. And so just to put things in perspective, this short trade here, we got in, we talked about boxing this in at the mid-band right here. And we were taking long still in that green background. Remember? Anybody in the room and remember this? I'm going to throw out some numbers that you should remember. Okay. I actually bought this bounce. Okay, so I put a 4 lot on here. I took a long trade here, stopped out. I bought in again here at 32 off this bounce. 32.50, I believe it was. 33. I got a scalp off here. Bought in again right here at 32. Got a scalp off. So as far as this was concerned in the green background, when we were in and around the mid-band, these were still long trades. Now, here's another thing I want to tell you on ES, and some of you already know this, is I trade a faster bar on ES. I trade a 2. Okay, I trade a 2 range. It's much faster. So you get twice the amount of bars in these areas that you do with a 4. It gives me a lot more granularity in seeing where to buy and get out, because the bars are a little bit faster, and there's more of them. You can trade the 4, you can trade the 2. In fact, I would suggest you experiment with both. They're both very good. Now, as you recall, Gary actually asked me back over here, way back over here, around just before 7 o'clock. He said, well, if that thing breaks 32, are you going to short it? And I said, yeah. Remember? Anybody there? I see Robert caught the longs. Okay, good. And I said, we're going to short that. I'm going to short that. And it got filled at, I remember this, I got filled at 31 3/4 on close of that bar right there. Put a 4 lot on there, okay? And it went all the way, but for you those that are new to futures, a lot is a contract. So 4 lot would be 4 contracts. So we trade down, we trade down, we trade down, we trade down, we go all the way. Now this is a very unusual move on ES. You normally don't get moves like this every day. A big move normally on ES would be of the order of 10 to, this would be more of a normal move right here. 10, 12, 16 ticks, 20 ticks tops. Those are kind of normal ES moves. This was an unusually large move. And then, of course, you can see that the trail stops were taken out here. I believe we called out in the room 08 3/4, 09, I believe it was, on that bar to get out when it crossed line 2. And I had my stops a little higher. I think mine were up around 10. So I was looking for a kiss and roll, but it went higher, and I just got out. You can take a scalp on these, Brian. Now, the way that works, and I'll just explain this once because this is sort of part of our entry protocol. On ES, your scalps are going to be quick because the movement is much smaller. On instruments that have larger movement, like gold and crude, you can take a 10-tick scalp. So the way that would work is, in this case here, in this example, you would be filled short at 31 1/4 here and 31 3/4 here, and then 6 ticks down you would peel 1 contract if you put a 2 lot on. I'm guessing 6 ticks would be somewhere right around there. And then you would start off with initial 2 contract stop. Your stops are going to be 10 to 12 ticks initially on ES, so that would put it up here. You can set the reason we like Object Trader tool is that it's OCO, one cancels the other. So when your scalp comes off on the short here, it automatically takes this 2 lot stop sitting way up here, converts it to 1 contract stop, and moves it down to within 2 ticks of your entry. I just answered that, Kenny. 10 to 12 ticks. 10 to 12 ticks is your initial stops on ES. Okay? I'm describing the methodology on how we enter and manage trades. Everybody following along? You filled short here, scalp target here, 12 ticks up is your initial stop, convert it to a 1 lot stop, and then trail it down. We follow the stealth line in line 2 in the case of shorts, and that's why we got taken out finally on the runner right there. So let's do some quick math. Let's use some round numbers so it's easy. Let's say hypothetically you were filled at 32 short. Okay? I know it was a tick under that, but just work with me here. And then you got out at, let's call 09. So that's 13 points. Or no, what is that? 23 points, right? 23. What's 23 times 50? I believe that would be 1150, right? So it's 50. ES is $50 per point, 4 ticks per point. So each of those is $12.50. So this one trade right here with the scalp, as we've shown it, and with the runner that got taken out here, was $11.50 plus the scalp, which would have been another $75. So the total value of this trade was around $1,200 on a 2-lot, as I have it shown right here. So this is what we're looking for. We want to find instruments that have movement very early in the morning, you know, within the first hour. And we have a saying we've had for 10 years, which is 1 or 2 trades and done. And we want to minimize exposure to risk in markets. And, you know, a lot of traders think all the time, well, you know, I got to be in there taking trades all the time and looking, I could trade all day and trading all night, take all these different instruments and all these trades. Well, you really don't want to do that. You really don't want to do that. You want to limit your exposure to the market and your risk. And what you want to do is trade as little as possible. You want to make as much money as you can, maximize profitability, lower drawdown, and lower your exposure to risk. So, for instance, I was in the room observing and calling out the scalp trades at the bottom. These are just textbook scalp trades on ES right here, all 3 of them. I didn't take any of them. I was done. I had a 4-lot on here on these 2 trades, so I was up quite nicely. I did take a couple other trades later, but there was no need to do this anymore. You hit your goal early. Now, in the case of the short trade here, there were no minimum criteria trades yet. Well, technically this would be one right here. Technically this one. Let me explain a minimum criteria trade on the short side. All right, now you see how there's different levels of retracements in a downtrend. So the first one I showed was this scalp pullback right here. It hits the midband and rolls over. And you could make quite good money pretty much every day taking midband trades. In fact, I would go so far as to say if that was the only trade type you learned, you could do very well, quite well every single day. But there are other trade types, right? So a minimum criteria on the short side, let me get this arrow out of the way so I can show it. Hold on, stand by. Get this thing out of the way a little bit here. All right. Now, can you see where we pull up here and we go into this little band right above line 2, right here? Can you see these bars that come up? See how they just sort of bump their heads right there and then roll over? This is what you call a minimum criteria short trade. Now, they're a little bit more risky because, let me explain why, because the different trade types here. When you take a mid-band short, generally speaking, the retracement number of ticks off the outermost swing at the bottom of line 1 is going to be in the order of magnitude of 20 to 24 ticks, 22 ticks. So if you measure from here to here, that's going to be, you know, as much as 20 or more ticks. And so what we say is that there's sufficient meat on the bone for a trade to come off when you short this because we want it to come back down to here. This is what we want. And ES a lot of times behaves herself and does that very nicely. See it? Now, the risk, it's a legitimate trade. Okay, this retracement minimum criteria short is a legitimate short right here. This is a legitimate short trade, no question about it. However, you can clearly see it was much more risky in the fact that by the time you got filled and it hit the bottom, you almost had to get right out. It was probably a scratch trade, right? You get in, you get filled, you know, you let it bounce, you get in, you put your stop here. Maybe you got a scalp off. I can't really tell. Maybe you didn't. Let me see how many ticks you're probably looking at there. I don't know. Let's get very generous. 08 and 3/4, 09, 08, and the thing got bottomed out at 06 and a quarter. Yeah, you might have got a 4 or 5 tick. Depending on where your fill is, you might have got a scalp off. And then if you put a 2 lot on, you scratched out on the second one. But you can see here, as I'm showing, the minimum criteria retracement on a short trade, there is not a lot of meat on the bone here. Okay, you don't have a lot of distance like you do over here with these deeper retracements. See this? All the way back down here. See them? Okay, let's just give you some numbers on that one too real quick. Let's take a look at this one over here. Let's say you got short on the flip through the midband here. Let's use the round number. Let's call it 10. And then you got out, I don't know, you got out at like maybe 07. So that's 3 times 4 is 12 ticks, $150 on a 1 lot. You know, it's probably each 3 times is $450. If you use 2, you know, you might have made $500 scalping down here after that big run down. So that's the trade-off. And the third and final trade type we have on the short side is what's called a deep retracement or phantom. A phantom trade or deep retracement, as we used to call them deep yellow bar retracements, because a lot of times the bars will turn yellow. In the case of the short, can come up as high as here. So when we're looking at a downtrend, our preferred trade entry is in and around the midband. Okay, that's trade type number 1, most preferred, and I'm speaking for myself and a lot of traders that use our tools. Minimum criteria is defined on the short side as bars that enter just and close above the stealth line, the sneaky snake little red line in the case of the downtrend, right? And line 2. So you're actually coming into band 3. You roll over, you get in, and then, you know, at the time this happens to bounce off of very strong support. A lot of times with the minimum criteria, you can get trend continuation. And there's times where you want to take those because in a long protracted trend, it doesn't give you a lot of pullbacks. So it's kind of a balance. Now let me ask a question over here, now that you know what you know. I'm going to put some lines on the chart over here. I'm going to put a line right here where we entered the trade. And I'm going to put a line right here where we got out of that short. Now, between these lines, was there any time where you had a minimum criteria trade entry in here, yes or no? Were there any minimum, was there any sufficient retracements between these lines that met the definition of short trade minimum criteria entry? Yes or no? Just a yes or no question. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to answer it. You should automatically know. Knowing what you know, you should be able to look at this chart and just instantly know whether that trade type was present. Okay, 4 seconds. 3 seconds. It's just a yes or no. Just hit a wire and then boop. Just like that. 2 seconds. Cast your vote. 1 second. All right, time's up. Okay, the correct answer was no. Right, yeah, correct answer was no, because you can see here that with this very precipitous sell-off in this market, at no time did any bars come and close above the stealth line or line 2. Right? Just like, so none of these occurred. This was just a big, powerful sell-off. All right, I don't see any questions on that. Let's move over to looking at the long side. Over here. Now, let's talk about the long side. So you can see here that after ES had bottomed out with these 3, 4 shots at the bottom, that you get this is considered consolidation. Markets are trying to establish a bottom where support is pretty clearly down here around 05, 06. And when the short covering stops and legitimate buy programs come in, what happens is that you're going to get usually some kind of rapid move in the opposite direction, which is up, coming off the downtrend, right? Now, that thrust turned the background green. The midband and all the bands began to stair-step up. The bars turned predominantly blue. And now you are said to be in an uptrend. So it's the opposite of a downtrend. We're looking for pullbacks into support. Whereas in the downtrend, we're looking for pullbacks into resistance, to short, right? Now, let's talk about the three trade types on the long side. Trade type number one would be located in and around the midband, like such, or physically on the midband itself. Like this. This is considered, now in the case of the uptrend, of course, that's a long trade, not a short trade. That's a long trade. Or, as I said earlier, the exception to that is if you're around a market open or a news event. You can legitimately let the box go either way. The long minimum criteria retracement is located just under line 6, right here. So we need to have bars that close underneath the stealth line, the sneaky snake green line, and the green thin line 6. So let me ask a question of the team. By our definition, do these bars meet the long entry minimum criteria? Yes or no? Right here, as we have defined it. I'll give you 4 seconds. We just described it, so it should be fresh in your head what those are, right? 2 seconds, just a wire it in. Does it meet it or not? It's a very simple question. 1 second. Time's up. Yes. Yeah, you can see here clearly that there are several bars that come in and they sit just under line 6. This is a legitimate long minimum criteria entry trade. And so question number 2, related to what you have, the new knowledge you have now. I'm going to put 2 more vertical lines on the chart, and I'm going to put them right here. So this one doesn't count. Okay, to the left. We're looking to the right. All the way over to, I'm going to say right here. I'll put a little more time on the clock because this is a little tougher. I'll put like 7 seconds on the clock. Between these 2 lines, how many minimum criteria trades are located on this chart? Counting minimum criteria long trade entries between these 2 lines. You just, when you count them, type in a number. So between here and here. Counting minimum criteria long entry trades that you feel are present on this chart. 5 seconds. Counting long minimums only. Long minimums only. 3 seconds. Just take your time, count them. There's several of them here, so just see how many you think you see. Okay, 1 second. Just type in a number. Cast your vote. I see a lot of good numbers coming in here from everybody. Excellent. Okay, good. All right, time's up. Okay, so we're not counting this one right here, so that's off the table. We're counting from this line forward. So let's look at this area right here, right around, well, you're going right into 9 a.m. Pacific time on this little collection of bars right here. So there was minimum criteria entry number 1, right? See how they just kind of sit there? And what I like about ES, like I said, she's a little bit kind of a slow mover. You know, she comes into the support area like around, 8:47 if you're still trading it. Of course, you could be done by then, but let's just say hypothetically you didn't miss the early morning session, you just whatever, and then start getting in there till 8:30. It came in here at 8:45, 8:47-ish, and it didn't exit that area until 9:02. So you spent the better part of 13 minutes sitting there. So that's what I mean. 13 minutes in trading is an eternity. Like NASDAQ probably would have moved 50 points, 50 ticks by the time that ES comes out of this box. So that's what I'm talking about. All right, okay, so there's number one. Now, what do you think here? And I'm going to ask a question. Do these bars right here meet the definition of minimum criteria on the long side? Well, let's check. We close below the stealth line, the green one, check mark 1, right? We close below the thin green line 6, check mark number 2, so the answer is yes. So that's number 2. Now, I get a little more tricky. How about these bars right here? What about these? Is that one? What do you think? What do you say, team? Well, let's study it. Clearly, this bar on the left, this blue bar here, closed below the green stealth line. So that's a yes, right? That's the criteria. Now, the bar on the right, did it close below line 6 or above it? This one right here. Did you close below line 6 or above it? So do we check the second mark box for the criteria to be met, or no? No, it closed above it. So this is not a legitimate long minimum criteria trade entry. All right, so we have 2 so far. Let's look for the third one. How about these bars right here? Close below Stell, green Stell, check mark 1. Close below thin green line 6, check mark 2. Yes, but it never fired. That's correct. So but that wasn't the question, right? The question was how many setups are on the chart. So what he's saying here, which is true, Brian is correct. Brian said that if you had used a region box here, as I have drawn it, there was never a close outside of it. So you never got filled long. And so even though it was present, you probably, if you drew as I've shown, now you enter into, now let me ask another question. So I'll leave the box there to signify that was the third, possible trade entry that never filled. How about these bars right here? Are these bars considered a mid-band trade, yes or no? The yellow bars that I have engulfed with a box, is that a mid-band trade or no? Yes or no, 5 seconds. 4 seconds. See, it's all about learning these trade types and these retracements. I know it might seem like really laborious how we talk about this in such great, incredible detail. 2 seconds left. But I'm telling you, if you just take a little time to learn these simple trade entries, when you go into the live room and you hear these calls, they're all going to make sense to you. It won't sound like a bunch of gibberish in there, like what in the heck are these guys talking about? Time's up. I would say technically yes, because by definition, a long trade entry, as we had down here, was in the band directly above or below the mid-band or on it itself, right? And so, yes, you do get bars encroaching. So, you could say technically this box is sort of a cross or a hybrid between minimum criteria and sort of breaching into the mid-band area. Good. Now, how about over here? This gets a little more tricky. So far we have 3. I think most of you got those. How about these bars right here? What do you think? Yes or no? Is those meet minimum criteria? As we've defined it for the long entry? That would be number 4 if you say yes. If you say yes to that, remember our little check marks we got to check off in our little checklist, right? I'm going to give you 3 seconds on that one. You should look at these bars and know by now what's minimum and what isn't, right? All right, so our check marks are. So I'm referring to the box. I'm not talking about down here just yet. I'll get to that. I'll get to that in a second. So this is very similar to minimum criteria entry number 3 right here, in the fact that if you've drawn it as I have shown, you never got filled. But they do close below stealth, check mark number 1, and we close into the band below line 6, check mark 2. It's band 6. So yes, but just like this one over here, it never got filled. Did this eventually morph into another mid-band trade? Yes. Clearly you can see these bars these ones are physically sitting on the mid-band itself, and these ones are just below it. So that's another trade entry right there. Good. All right, so the correct answer was 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 of them were actually filled. 4 is the total with the correct number. 2 of them got filled, 2 did not. 2 turned into mid-band trades. Excellent. Most excellent. Okay, now that we're all trade experts, what do we want to look at next? Why don't you type in an instrument that you want to look at that you prefer, one preferably that you actually trade, and we'll pop up some charts here before we run out of time, now that we're experts. Just whatever instrument you like. You know, are you a crude trader? You watch the gold charts? You know, are you any Russell traders in here? YM, NASDAQ? You like NASDAQ? Whatever it is, put the instruments you trade right into the chat box. And I'll try to get to as many as I can before we run out of time here. Let's see what we're getting coming in here. Okay, we got YM, we got SPASI, a lot of crudes. Yeah, Robert, I can't, line in the sand where it reversed today. Are you saying when it reversed from down to up, or the short trade we took near the entry? When it reversed to long? Well, right here, where I drew this arrow right here. So when this swing was taken out, just to be clear, so there's no confusion about this, when this swing level was taken out right here and broken, breached to the upside, and you had this long string of bars that turned blue, pushed up, and the background turned to green. Bars are predominantly blue. The mid-band and all the bands started to stair-step up, as you see here, right? This is the transition. I'll just physically show where it was. The transition from downtrend to uptrend occurred right here. Well, no, that's not where you take the, let me be clear about this. This is not where you take the long entry. This is where the trend changed. The entries of trades are on retracements. So what happens is, on the long and the short side, is you get what's called, so we all conceptually understand what's happening here as far as price action is concerned, is the first thing that occurs when a trend begins is the thrust move in the trend direction. In this case, the thrust was up. Now, that does not mean long. Let me be clear. I'm not saying that this thrust is the long entry. It's when you get retracements, right? So now we're looking for pullbacks and retracements in the to support to take longs. And so that's what these examples are. So by definition, in terms of how we look at this, in terms of the uptrend, each of the thrusts, each of the pushes up are considered part of our thrust moves. Movement that comes in an uptrend in the opposite direction, which is down, is considered the retracement. So that's how the uptrend works. Thrust, retracement, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm at 3:57. I'm almost out of time, and I wanted to show like 3 more instruments. So my apologies, everybody. We're going to have to kind of move it on here. If I didn't get any questions, I'm going to ask a small favor. Maybe we could do is table them a little bit. You can ask them in one of 2 other places, because I got to try to get at least a couple more charts up here before I run out of time. If you come into the live room in the morning, once we've gone through a lot of our trades that have kind of been done, just by all means go ahead and ask those questions, and we can answer in the live room. And if you don't get it answered there, Gary has a webinar on Saturday morning. We can go through all those questions. Okay? All right. Let's get another chart up here. I think that I saw a lot of crudes come in, so let's get a crude chart up. Okay, yeah, if you have to go, oh, that's the other thing I was going to say. A lot of people are coming and going here, and that's cool. If you came in late, it's okay. I've recorded this. If you got to go, a lot of people are saying I got to get going. Don't worry about it. Everybody will get a copy. We'll put this on the web. It'll go into the subscriber area. It'll go into the public website for everybody to see. So let's get crude up here real quick. Yeah, so don't worry if you have to go. So it's totally all right. As I recall, it was under that 32 on the short, Robert. The line in the sand for the flipping it. Remember when he asked that? I don't know if you were in the room or not. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of a different exercise here than what we were just doing. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to reconstruct crude oil in real time from this morning, and I'm going to start at. Well, I'm going to do. Yeah. Let's do this. I want to reconstruct crude. I'm going to go through the morning session in two different ways. I'm going to start crude early in the morning, and then I'm going to stop it. Now I'm going to pause, and we'll look back, and then I'm going to pick it up again after 6:35. So let's do the early morning session together. Now I'm going to help you out on this exercise. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to show you when you're ready. Here, I'm going to show you. We're going to start this exercise. If you haven't done this with me before, what happens is I will gradually advance the chart. You're looking at a crude oil chart now, okay? Same indicators, same methodology of trade entry, but I'm going to help you out here. This is early in the morning in the European session. This is midnight Pacific right here. So this would have been the European session or night owls over here in the U.S. European session starts at midnight Pacific, so right there. This is the end of the Asian session going into the European session. Now I'm going to help you out a little bit. I'm going to point out the fact that you have a very large thrust in crude right here that does what? Right, turns the background green. You've seen this before, right? You see the bars turn blue. My mid-band, all the bands are starting to stair step up. So we're going into a what? An uptrend, right? In the European session. Now you're at 1 a.m. Pacific. So I'm going to help you out a little bit here. You know now that when you're in an uptrend, and as long as the trend continues, that's the caveat, right? That we're buying pullbacks, retracements into support as we defined it. So I'm going to advance this chart, reconstructing real time, and when you think you see a long trade materialize on the chart, show up, that you think is a long entry, just type in the letter L. Everybody ready? All right, here we go. So you're looking for retracements to get long. And when you think you see one, and you don't have to say minimum criteria, you don't have to say midband, deep retracement, you don't have to say any of that. All you do is just type in the letter L. Here we go. Okay, advancing the chart. Everybody sees the chart moving. I'm just going to double check. Sometimes I get stuck in pause. Okay, chart moving back and forth. Just type in a yes if you do. See that? Chart going back and forth. Chart going back and forth. Yes. Going back and forth. Yes. Moving. It is moving. Good. Good. Okay. All right. Let's start our exercise. Looking for long trades. We're going to type in an L when we see them. Okay, now we're at 130. All right, wait. I need to pause. I need to pause right here. And there's a reason I'm doing this, okay? When you are in an uptrend, what is the direction of the thrust? Is it up or down? In an uptrend. Is the thrust part of the movement up or down in an uptrend? It's up, right. Now, As we look at these bars form, from here to here, are we thrusting or are we retracing? From here to here, are we thrusting or retracing between those two circles? Is the market thrusting or retracing? Between here and here. Right. It's thrusting. It's pushing up. Bars are going up. Higher highs, higher lows, continuing to go up. So we said explicitly before we started this exercise, not even 15, 20 minutes ago, that we are not, capitalized N-O-T, not thrust traders. We're retracement traders. So, that being said, is there a long trade here right now? Yes or no? As I have shown it. Is there any long trade entry as I have this chart shown right here? Yes or no? No. You're thrusting. Now, the reason I paused that is that we got a lot of people here tonight, and some of you might be completely new and still learning it, so it's totally okay. It's all right. That's how we all learn, right? But one thing that just is really important to learn about this system and how to trade is you just almost never, ever, ever take a thrust. You have to wait a pullback. Now, there's some exceptions to that, but I'm not going to talk about that. I just want to be crystal clear. We don't buy and sell thrusts, so there's no trade yet. Here we go. Moving forward. All right, we're at 1:30 in the morning last night, or earlier this morning. Okay, now let me blow this puppy up here. Make the bars like super bigger, so you can really, oops, going the wrong way. We're gonna get these bars, trying to make the bars like super big here. There, that's a lot better. Now remember, we're looking for long trade entries on a retracement. Oh, Jiminy Christmas. This crude's getting sideways on me. Stand by. Give me 1 second to regroup here. I'm getting some technical problems on crude. This chart's getting all kind of squirrely on me. I went to blow it up and it freaked it out. I'm sorry. Just give me a minute here. Got to get back to where I was. Okay. All right. I'm back. Yeah, it's just, well, no, it's not Ninja 7. There's nothing wrong with the chart and the data. Everything's fine. It's this remote login situation we're dealing with. Okay, I'm not going to blow the chart up anymore. Whatever size it is, it is. Okay? Here we go. All right, 130, 135. We're looking for long trade entries at support on retracements. And when you see it, you type in the letter L. Okay? All right. Moving forward. There's 145. Going up on 2 a.m. Pacific. So you're 2 hours into the European trading session. There's 203. 223. Looking for long trades on retracements into support. 238. Almost 2:56, almost 3 a.m. 3:24. There's 4 o'clock. 4 hours into the European session. Trend is still up. We're looking for long trade entries. When you see them, you type in an L. That's our exercise we're doing. We're reconstructing how these bars form. By the way, I'm going at like 900 times the speed. You know, we just did 4 hours of trading like in the last 2 minutes. It's like 1,000 times. But it's good. It's good to do these kind of exercises. I showed this before. This is a great exercise. You just toggle back and forth, toggle back and forth. It's really good. It's good muscle memory for your trading mind. Looking for longs. 5:15, 5:30. Looking for long entries. Trend is up. Typing in the L, letter L when we see them. Okay, here we're coming up on 5:52. Gary's opening up the live room about now. There's 6 o'clock. Crude pit open. Crude pit's open now. 603, crude pit's open. 604, you're in the live room. You got your charts up. You're looking for trades. 609, 617. All right, I'm going to stop it right there. Let's put a line where we stop so we remember. So how many did you see in our little exercise? How many long trades did you see? Now, whether they were filled or not, that's a whole other matter. I'm not, unfortunately, going to not have a lot of time to talk about the details around the entries. How many long trades are here now? How many long trade setups are on this chart from this line to this line right here? How many times did you type an L in? From over here all the way to over here. So essentially 4 hours of trade, no, closer to 5 hours. 5 hours of trading in the European session. How many long trade setups were present on crude oil? Well, let's count them together. Let's start over here. So after I had paused the screen, stand by. Trying to deal with some little thing here. It's getting in my way. Some of these boxes are not cooperating. Trying to work my way through it. It's all right. Don't panic. We got it. All right. Okay. So I'm quickly going to show some boxes. So we're going to start counting over here. So here's 1. Okay, that's long trade 1. You got a scalp off. Yeah, that's mid-band 1. How about right here? 2. That's mid-band trade. How about here? 3. Mid-band trade. So there's 3 longs. How about here? Thrust retracement. Sits right here. 4. Here's 5. And then technically you could say this is another setup right here. Now, how you drew it and whether you got filled or not, it's hard to say. No, these were just any long trades, Kathy. Any long trades. So that was the exercise. The exercise was in an uptrend. As soon as you saw any type of long trade setup, and as I recall, I was very clear, I think, when I said you don't have to say what kind it is, minimum criteria, mid-band, deep, whatever. It's just an L when you see one. Okay? Yeah, no big deal. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, good. Everybody did great on that. Okay, now we're going to do an exercise on the short to the. I'm going to help you out. I'm going to show you a downtrend, and now when you see trades, you're going to type in an S. S for short. Okay. All right, here we go. Are you ready? I'm going to start right at that line where we left off. And now we're looking for short trade entries. There was some other minimals in there, Kevin. Yeah, I don't unfortunately have a ton more time to go through all that. There were more. Some of them got filled, some didn't on the minimums. Yeah, but you are correct. Yes. But in the interest of saving a little bit of time, I focused more on showing the mid-band trades. But yes, you are correct. A couple of them got filled, some of them didn't. Are we ready? Okay, now we're starting at 6:32, so the equity markets are open, and we're looking for shorts on crude. When you see them, as I advance the chart, you will type in the letter S. Here we go. Okay, looking for shorts on crude. Shorts on crude. Don't get squirrely on me now, you crazy little chart. Okay, I'm gonna, no, there we go. There we go. Behave yourself. Oh, darn it. Give me a chance to get this thing. Drive me nuts. Help me. All right, I got it back. Starting over again. Here we go. Looking for shorts on crude. Shorts on crude. Okay, now we're at 6:43. Typing in an S when you see them. Go a little faster. 650 coming up on 7. 6:55. 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. Pacific time. Okay. There's 7:12. I'm ripping it pretty good. 30 seconds, I've gone through like 15, 20 minutes of actual crude bars forming. We would have been in the room. Some of you might recall these trades. They were called. In fact, I think I took a couple of them, as I recall. It was the only other trades I took. I think it was, I don't recall taking a gold trade. Remember, you're looking for shorts on retracements. S's. You're typing in S's when short trades are present. Here we're at 7:30. 7:34. 7:35. Any type of short trade. You don't have to say what type it is. Just when you think you see one, you type in an S. 7:47, coming up on the end of the live trading room. They're coming right up on 8 a.m. Pacific. That's usually when we wrap the room up. This was just a monster sell-off on crude, wasn't it? All right, I'm going to stop it right there. This is right about where we closed the room, as I recall. All right, how many trades did you get? How many short trades were here? Let's count them. This is just a monster sell-off. This is like 100 ticks. At $10 a tick, you had $1,000 worth of trading opportunity here. More than that. Even on a one lot. Now, counting shorts, starting from the vertical line on the left, you can see very clearly right here, and some of you got it, some of you didn't. This was your first short entry right there. Now, you might say, well, you're in a transitional background there. How would you have known? When the answer is you would have let the box go either way, and you were filled short on the close of this bar right here. So that's a legitimate mid-band short trade entry right there. That's trade number 1 right there. Okay, now let's count. Does this meet minimum criteria? Do you see this one? Yes. It's trade number 2, short. Gave you a scalp. How about right here? Is that a mid-band short? Kiss and roll. Did you catch it? Some of you did. How about way down here? This one? Was that legitimate? Kiss and roll short? Yep. How about this one over here? So how many we have so far here? Counting shorts. So it's counting from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How about these? How about this little collection of bars right here? Are these minimum criterias? Yes or no? What do you think? Yes or no on those last few little bit of bars, just right when that double bottom was starting to form down there. It's the last question of the day, and we're going to wrap. No. I mean, technically speaking, they did close above grid stealth. Okay, I'll give you that. Did they wick, and barely within a tick or so close above line 2, band 2? Yes. But I think everybody would agree there's really not a lot of meat on the bone right there. And, if you wanted to split hairs, you could say yes, they do. Only because it closed above line 2 itself right there with those 2 candles. But ideally, you really wanted to at least get up into here. When you see this dinking around on here, you really don't want to get in the middle of this. After a 100 tick drop, you should have been catching the shorts up here. You should have been catching these ones up here, 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 here. Each one of this drop here was probably 80 ticks. This one leg right here was probably $800 right here. Oh, there were 2 more. Oh, I'll give you that. Okay. Yeah, 735. Yep, you're right. There's one right here. That's legitimate. And this one, maybe you got filled, maybe you didn't. I suppose you could make the case that those bars right there meet the minimum criteria. And this dinking around in here, I'm not going to count any of that. So, in closure on this, the two things that are important to take away here, if you can, and you're really considering trading futures, and you want to do this for fun or extra part-time money or just something to do for an hour in the morning, or you want to trade full-time for a living, make extra money, get funded, and what have you, is instrument selection is key. Is key, critical, and key to your success. As you get into this, you've got to experiment with different instruments. Try crude for a little while. Try some gold. Try some ES. Try a little bit of everything, okay? The other thing is you don't want to overtrade, and you don't want too many instruments. You really want only one or two instruments. So just go through that sorting process. That's extremely important. And then pick and master a trade type. And I would suggest mid-band to start. If you can do those two things, and everybody learns at a different rate. Some people pick it up quicker. Some people it takes a little bit longer. But that's really the two really big keys right there. If you can just find an instrument, and let's say maybe you just say, look, I'm only going to take crude mid-band trades today. That's all I'm doing. And so what you do is you learn that setup and you master it, right? Kevin says, I made a lot of money over the years just trading one instrument. That's really all you need. Really. I mean, look how much money Gary makes trading crude every day. Look how much money I make trading ES every morning. What happens is, truth be told, is you trade it so much that you just sort of, I don't know, you get to know its personality. You've seen, 10,000 hours of chart time with it. You just kind of know, you feel what it's going to do. All right, that's a wrap. I'm going to stop the recorder. I appreciate everybody sticking around. Sorry we got